Good morning, everyone. Bonjour. Let's start our event. I think we have 20 minutes delay. Let's start, and we have other speakers on the way. They will join us, and we will give them time to talk when they come. So thank you very much for being here Saturday, working on a Saturday, but we know that this is COP style. And with no big introduction, we will start straight away our program. And you might have seen that our CEO, Her Excellency Nardos Bekele Thomas, should have been here, but she needed to go to other commitments. And she will be replaced by our director, Mrs. Estherine Fotabong, Director of Agriculture, Food Security, and Environmental Sustainability at the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD. So this side event is about land restoration. We know all the benefits that land restoration can bring. We don't need to go into details. Our panelists who are here will give more ample details on what they are doing for the Africa Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative, the AFR 100. And we, the AUDA-NEPAD, as the Secretariat of AFR 100, we are here to facilitate and to facilitate this event. So I will give now the floor to Mrs. Fotabong to say the opening remarks, the welcome remarks on behalf of our CEO. Please, Director.
Hello, good morning. First, let me apologize for the delay in the starting of the event. This place is big, so I'm sure, and there's so many meetings happening, so I suppose the minister he's making his way here. And our CEO, as Mamadou said, also had to urgently leave Dubai to attend to some other urgent matters. So, as Mamadou said, let me welcome everyone to this important side event on attracting large-scale investment to accelerating forest landscape and ecosystem restoration for increased agriculture and food security in Africa. I see a lot of familiar faces, but let me do the protocol thing and just acknowledge formally the presence of our very key partners that we have worked with over the years on this topic. And I do see WRI, Mr. Sean DeWitt. Sean is over there. Thank you, Sean, for being a good partner. I see WWF. Want to acknowledge Severin for being here. Of course, WFP, my dear friend, Verly is here, the Director of Resilience and Food Systems. We've working all over the years. I also want to acknowledge Integrity Global Partners, Ms. Sherry Dugal, and also let me recognize and acknowledge the representative from Tanzania, the Assistant Conservation Commissioner. And of course, all the other excellencies and dear colleagues. I was told that phrase, all protocol observed, is not correct English, but allow me to use it to just acknowledge everyone who is here. We don't take it for granted, your presence here, because there are so many events happening, and all of us, our time is required in so many places. So you being here is a recognition of the importance that you give to this subject, and that all of us should actually give to this subject, and to the partnerships that are needed for its implementation. So just a couple of things to say. Attracting large-scale investments to accelerate forest landscape and ecosystem restoration for increased agriculture and food security in the continent requires a strategic and multifaceted approach. We can't just do one thing. We need to be strategic and take an integrated approach to it. And to enhance investment in this critical area, there are a number of things that should be done. You're welcome, Madam Minister. First, I think there is no question anymore in our minds, and actually in this COP, looking at the leadership declaration that came out on food system, that the connection between restoration efforts, agriculture, and food security. I think that is settled now as a question in the mind of not just the community that have been working on this issue, but also at the political level. That connection is now absolutely clear. But I'm not sure. I ask myself the question whether we are doing enough or we have done enough in terms of just highlighting and emphasizing the economic and social benefits of restoring forest landscapes. We do have a lot of programs that are ongoing, like the AR100 and others, but I think we probably have to do a lot more work in terms of analytical work to show that relationship between the economic and social benefit that comes out from forest restoration. One of the beautiful things that this community has done, and through the exemplary work of the ARF 100, is really about engaging partnership. This is about partnerships. It's central to the work on the ground, but it's essential to have the range of financing that we need to be able to leverage investment for ecosystem restoration. So partnerships and engaging all stakeholders is critical in the work that we do. Fourthly, we need to showcase. There's no better way to learn and to see what happened and the importance of a subject matter like this one than to show what is happening on the ground. Unfortunately, I think because of time, I don't see on the program, Mamadou is not showing the videos on what is actually happening on the ground through the programs like ARF 100 and other programs, so we can actually see how investment is going to communities that are helping to manage and restore our landscape. And fifthly, I think one area that perhaps we need to reflect on and maybe do a little bit more better is also about quantifying the returns to investment. Because the question is still there on, this investment that we are looking for, this impact investment, resource flows to the communities. How do we demonstrate their contribution in terms of emission reduction, in terms of improving on adaptive capacities and building resilience, but also return to investment to those who are investing in these projects. So I think it's something that through the monitoring aspect of the project, the ARF 100 that the Secretariat is doing, we can see and how we work with partners to do better and more in terms of data collection and evidence to demonstrate the impact of these investments on the ground. And this, not all the time, do not have to be huge investments. Even the small resources that go to communities do have impact. And the sixth point we would like to make is about just leveraging financial instruments. So we need to look at a full range of instruments that can be mobilized, to support ecosystem restoration, forest and ecosystem restoration, including, of course, the impact investments, the green bonds, and other financial opportunities, financing opportunities that might be out there. I think as part of the work that we need to do is really to bring to the attention of the countries these various instruments that are available and how we can help communities and countries to access these instruments. And lastly, but not the least of importance, is policy and regulatory support. What kinds of investment incentives should we help member states to put in place to support investments into restoring our ecosystems so that we can increase agriculture and food security on the ground? So this, I just try to frame some of the big issues that are so important to this conversation, and which I know the panel is going to go into more in-depth discussion. And to say NEPAD looks forward to working with all of you to implement ARF 100, to frame the post-CADAP Malabo framework that ends in 2025, so that these issues of landscape restoration and forest restoration are not just add-on to the conversation, but are an integral part into that post-Malabo framework. To collectively see how we work through this different initiative to support the zero hunger objective of the SDGs. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Director Mrs. Estherine Lesenge Fotabong. I think that she has, our director has laid out the connections between land restoration, food security, agriculture, and food systems all together. And this is how we are working as a team inside AUDA-NEPAD. So now, without further ado, this is I'm calling Minister Jamila Ibrahim Bio to come and make the keynote statement, and I will just leave it at that. So not to get emotional with her, because we have come a long way. And seeing her now in a different capacity is just fantastic. So allow me to call you Jamila. Please come make your statement. Please, big applause for Jamila, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mamadou. Well, you're a mister. Well, walking into this hall, I was quite emotional. I couldn't help it. Like he said, we've come a very long way from my days at the sub-national level, working in the SDGs, working on the SDGs, and also coordinating at the sub-national level for AUDA-NEPAD and the APRM voluntary reviews. And fate has brought me here, and I was called to serve at the highest decision-making council of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the youth minister. Good morning, Excellencies. Good morning, Mrs. Estherine Fotabong, the Director of Agriculture, Food Security and Environmental Sustainability of AUDA, and our partners here present. Allow me to proceed on already established protocols. I extend my deepest appreciation to the organizers of this session at the COP28, specifically for gathering us all here to address a matter of utmost importance: the stimulation of public-private financing and investment in forest landscape and ecosystem restoration projects. This theme is not only timely, but vital to the holistic development of nations worldwide, as it aligns with the Agenda 2063, Africa's Blueprint and Master Plan for Transforming Africa into a global powerhouse for the future. It is the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver on its goal for inclusive and sustainable development. As we embark on this critical journey, on this crucial discussion, let us underscore the profound impact of investing in our young people and our women, while recognizing their unparalleled contributions to economic progress and social sustainability. Globally, young people and women together constitute a formidable force, with statistics revealing the transformative potential of strategic investments in these demographic segments. It is important that I mention that investing in young people, as highlighted by the International Labour Organization, ILO, can potentially add $2.2 trillion to global economic output by 2030. While advancing gender equality in the workplace could also contribute an additional $28 trillion to the global GDP by 2025. In Africa, and in Nigeria specifically, the youth demography is even more pronounced, representing a significant proportion of our population. And if I might add, that Nigeria, with a population of over 250 million people, and the young people make up 70% of that 250 million. We are Africa's largest population, and if we have 1.8 billion young people across the globe, that makes Nigeria contribute to 10% of the global youth population. Turning our attention now to the potential investment needs in the context of forest landscapes and ecosystem restoration. The Global Commission on Adaptation emphasizes that investing $1.8 trillion globally in climate adaptation measures by 2030 could generate $7.1 trillion in total net benefits. These investments can be channeled into projects directly impacting agriculture, strengthening food systems while guaranteeing food security, and the empowerment of women and youth, which also translates to guaranteeing livelihoods. And of course, I do not need to emphasize that it speaks as well to the SDG 8, which is decent work and reduction of inequalities. In Africa, the potential for investment in sustainable agriculture is vast, as closing the gender gap in agriculture could increase output by up to 30%, significantly contributing to food security, and additionally, investing in forest landscape restoration projects can create employment opportunities, particularly for the youth, and to foster economic growth. So I'd like us to consider this. The World Bank estimates that investing in sustainable forest management and reforestation could generate a return of $1.7 for every dollar invested. This not only contributes to the environmental conservation, but also creates avenues for wealth creation and job opportunities, particularly, again, for women and youth engaged in forests and related activities across the forestry value chain. To ensure the future impact of our youth and women across various sectors, we must invest strategically and sustainably. Patient, responsible investments, as evidenced by the Global Impact Investing Network, can yield enduring benefits, such as balancing financial returns with positive environmental and social outcomes. Furthermore, as we gather here today, let us recognize the parallel importance of empowering young people and women because they represent the potent force globally with contributions that transcend borders and leave an indelible mark on the global stage. Our journey towards a sustainable future requires collaborative efforts. Government, private institutions, and specialized organizations must join hands to strengthen the capacity of our youth and women. Joint collaborations can pave the way for comprehensive development programs, educational initiatives, and skills-building endeavors that empower them to be catalysts for change. Distinguished participants, as a testament for our commitment to harnessing the power of the youth for a greater and more prosperous future, we have commenced a collaborative initiative between UNIDO, ITPO Nigeria, and the Federal Ministry of Youth Development. It is called the Nigeria Youth Entrepreneurs in Sustainable Technology Initiative. This is in response to the pressing need for sustainable development and environmental responsibility. The initiative aims to empower and support young individuals in Nigeria aspiring to become entrepreneurs in sustainable technology. And this cuts across various sectors: agriculture, the circular economy, of course, the entire green economy value chain. The global demand for green skills is on the rise, and our youth have the unique potential to drive innovation, to create economic opportunities, and to contribute to a more sustainable world. I have not focused my entire address to forest restoration alone, because forest restoration is a component of the holistic approach. So for us, because we have the manpower, we have the numbers in manpower. So we need to have a broader view in order to be able to make a greater impact at a scale that is unprecedented. Aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, namely SDGs 2, Zero Hunger, End Poverty, and particularly SDG 9, and of course, the global goal that speaks to forest restoration and protecting our landscapes. The initiative recognizes the importance of preparing our young people for the transition to a low carbon economy. Through capacity building, startup incubation, seed funding, networking, and the promotion of sustainable practices, we aspire to cultivate a generation of environmentally conscious and socially responsible entrepreneurs. We aim to create, we're actually in the process of collating young people in clusters and also identifying young people in clusters through our Youth Village program, which we'll be focusing on building ecosystems across our commodities, especially agro-commodities of comparative advantage. That's from planting, and this also includes agroforestry, because we have quite a wide variety of trees that could be of high economic importance, and of course with high carbon capture features as well. In the words of a wise philosopher, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Let this be our guiding principle as we forge partnerships and work collectively towards stimulating the flow of resources into projects that not only restore our ecosystems, but also cultivate a thriving environment for the prosperity of our youth and women. Personally, I believe that our commitment to stimulating the flow of resources into these projects is not just an investment in our environment, but it is an investment in the prosperity of our youth and women. May our shared commitment to this cause illuminate the path to a sustainable and prosperous future for all. I thank you all for the audience, and I look forward to a productive panel session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister Jamila. And I think your message was very clear. Let's build on our youth and women to really push for sustainable development. We have already, you know it very well, the Land Accelerator program that talks exactly about that, where we mobilize resources from different origins, bilateral, private sectors, and to really bring young women and men, as long as they are willing to give value to the land, to restore it, and make a living, generate jobs, create more jobs, and even benefits, profits. We receive fundings, technical support. So far, I think we have supported more than 1,000 young people in Africa. And with this kind of collaboration, the Minister of Youth and in Nigeria, Agriculture, Environment, we can really scale it up. And I know one of the AFA 100 champions who will talk more about Land Accelerator. Isn't it, Sean? So this is a good transition to call upon the panel to come and sit with us. We prepared questions, but we will just call you and then give you the floor one by one to tell what you are doing in terms of land restoration, attracting investments, and so that the audience, maybe if we have time, we will get some interactions. So on top of my head, I will call Sean David from WRI, Director of Global Restoration at the World Resource Institute. Sean, please. And I can call Voli Carucci, Director of Resilience and Food Systems Program, WFP, World Food Program. And I can call Sherry Sugal, who was really very committed, very motivated. She was blocked at the entrance, but she managed to get in. Welcome, Sherry. And we have also Zainabu Shabani, the Assistant Conservation Commissioner for Tanzania Forest Services. Welcome, please. And I think, and then Severin, how can I forget Severin? Severin Kalunga, the lead for the Restoration Africa program at WWF, please. So if the first lady is ready, we can start with Mrs. Zainabu Shabani. Can you tell us about the Tanzania restoration program and the AFA 100, just what we talked about 2 weeks ago in Arusha at the Africa Forestry and Wildlife Commission? Please. I was too fast for once.
Okay, good morning, all of you. My name is Zainab Bungwa. I'm Assistant Conservation Commissioner of Tanzania Forest Service Agency, which is an agency under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism in Tanzania. I'm also a manager of forest resources in Tanzania. Yes, of course. Thank you very much. On behalf of Professor Dos Santos Silayo, who is the Conservation Commissioner of Tanzania, I would like to convey his greetings to you, Africa, and we are ready for the meeting. So to start with, Tanzania, we managed to pledge as a member of Afro 100, and we started the journey in 2018. We pledged to restore 5.2 million hectares. And of course, yes, we used the ROAM, restoration opportunities, methodology assessment, that drive us to pledge of 5.2 million hectares. And we prepared the so-called Tanzania Forest Landscape Restoration Strategy. It's of 2022 to 2030. It is on the process of being finalized and signed. And to start with on our priorities and the investment in the forest landscape restoration strategy. We have the guiding framework, the forest policy, and we have the forest policy implementation strategy of 2021 to 2030. But we have a guiding framework of environmental management policy that guides us. But in our case, we manage the forests in different regimes. We have 4 aspects of regimes in forests. We have the so-called central managed forest reserve. We have a local government forest reserve. We have village, private, and individuals. And then together we said, no, let's have the landscape restoration aspect. Is where now the Afro 100 came. So our priorities, we started on that we have an aspect of restoring the degraded land. We have the aspect of total conservations. And so far we have 23 upgraded nature forest reserves. Those are the higher categories of forest reserve that we do promote investments in various aspects that touches private sectors and the local communities. And we promote the ecotourism activities. And we have recently launched the GN for ecology and TENS to invest, but we are promoting the cultural tourism. So that is one of our aspects that we count. The second one is afforestation in the plantation area. So we have the totally degraded area where now we have almost 24 plantations. Those are the government forest reserve. But we support also community woodlots. And on top to that, now we have upgraded those plantations and the woodlots that touches communities. The third aspect is to restore the seedlings. So we have 4 seed centers that collect seedlings from the seed sources to make sure that we restore and we maintain the indigenous tree species. But at the same time, we have the native and the exotic. And another aspect is on the issue of the whole essence of sustainable land management best practices that touches other aspects of agriculture, that touches livestock, touches other aspects of our communities. And the last aspect is on the resource mobilization. So we have the component of resource mobilizations, and what we did as a government under the Vice President's Office, who is the focal point for these multilateral environmental agreements on the GF, GCF, and AF. So we mobilized the resources and building the capacities of various stakeholders, starting from the government, private sectors, CSO, and communities. So for our case, we have various projects that addresses various programs. We have examples. We have the Dryland Sustainable Landscape Impact Program. We have Dryland. Hello. We have Dryland and Sustainable Landscape Impact Program. That program also touches the integrated aspects. We touches the drivers of forest deforestations and the inclusions of livestock keepers, wildlife, forests, and the issue of water. And another aspect that we are touching ourselves is transboundary issues. We are implementing the so-called Great Green Wall initiatives, and that touches the other aspects of Africans. So on that, we also have some of bilateral plannings and programs that are going on within our country. But again, another aspect, we have the so-called beekeeping programs. The beekeeping program is one of the interventions that support our landscape restoration aspects. Because once you promote beekeeping, you are touching the communities, and you are touching the sense of ownership of that communities to manage the forest or to look after that forest. And the last one is a small, we call it climate smart investment projects that touches the gender, youth, and other aspects. Maybe to start with, that is where we are. So we have a political will in our country in terms of landscape restoration strategy. Like in our case in the country, we totally depend on the conservation for other sectors to work. We depend on the total conservation to get water for rain-fed agriculture, for livestock and other things. But at the same time, nowadays, the issue of carbon. So we are being also promoting the issue of carbon credits through the conservation in all aspects. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner. We will remain in Tanzania, but expand a bit. And Severin is smiling because I am coming to him. You will tell us about the WWF restoration program in Tanzania and all the 5-6 countries that you are dealing with. Please.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Moderator. First of all, we are active in 9 countries in Africa, not 6. So WWF is active in 9 countries to support restoration, particularly supporting the 9 countries to deliver the FR 100 commitments. And these countries are Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Madagascar, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and a bit of Central Africa. We have DRC and Cameroon. This program has 3 main objectives. The first objective is on promoting or creating enabling environment, policy and institutional framework. We believe that we might be missing the link if we don't connect our work with policy instruments and regulations. So we are working in the 9 countries to influence policy and institutional framework, like we support Rome exercises so that they can have FR restoration and strategies informed by Rome to identify strategic interventions. The second objective is on promoting finance and market incentives or mechanisms or enablers. And this objective 2 is really quite relevant to what we are speaking to today. The third objective is the actual work on the ground. How many hectares we have identified, mapped, and put under restoration at landscape level? And what are the benefits accrued out of that strategic interventions at landscape level? So talking to Pillar 2 about promoting finance and market enablers, WWF, we believe that we are not alone in this space. And I can see Sean looking at me, just agreeing that he's an ally that I depend on to deliver what I'm doing in Africa. So we believe in the power of partnership and collaboration, and we work with a lot of other like-minded actors at landscape level. We have the so-called Tree on Trees. This is a tripartite partnership between WWF, BirdLife International, and WCS. This partnership is active in Eastern and Southern Africa. We are working in the Great Rift Lakes, where we are supporting Kenya to deliver, to contribute to their commitment to the tune of 2.1 million hectares by 2027. And we're also active in Tanzania under the water tower landscapes, trying to support the government of Tanzania to deliver their commitment to the tune of 2.6 million hectares. And another partnership that we do have is the so-called FY Implementation Hub. This is another more than 3 partners. We have the IC, we have WRI, we have IUCN, and WWF. And this is just about to be approved by the government of Germany. And we'll be active in Africa, we'll be active in 3 countries. We'll be active in Tanzania, and this will be the water tower landscapes. We'll be active in Uganda, this is the Great Virunga landscapes, and in Madagascar, in Mahafali landscape. And we are aiming to leverage more than $20 million as part of the investment to what we'll be doing to make sure that what we do, and we agree that restoration is a process. After 5 years, we want to have additional investment of $20 million or so so that we continue the good work that we'll start on the ground. And another interesting partnership is on the KWF Alliance, and this is active in Kenya, Tanzania, and Zambia. And in this particular type of partnership, we are working to deliver strategic interventions, particularly led by women and the youth. And Madam Minister is looking at me that, yes, we are sort of doing the same you tried to express in your speech. The other partnership specific to Cameroon, we are working with the private sector, and this is a company from US called Facet Power. We are working with this company to rehabilitate soils, to improve land productivity and increase yield, and they will be claiming carbon credits through biochar production. So we are supporting land rehabilitation, but aiming at improving food security through increasing productivity or yield. And another partnership that I want to present to you here is we are working with another Danish company through a project, carbon project in Uganda, and this is a 20 years plus investment where we'll be doing carbon projects, but we want to really create multiple benefits to people, nature, and climate. And how do we do it really? We do with partners. And in the 9 countries, we have about 10 multi-stakeholders platforms, and we use this platform to bring actors on board to discuss and agree on how we can push the restoration agenda collectively. We only don't have MSPs at national level, but we also have at landscape level to make sure that we bring other groups which could not be accessing the national level multi-stakeholders platform. Thank you.
Big applause, please. Thank you very much, Severin. Severin can talk the whole day on the restoration program of WWF and also bring you to the field that she knows very well. And this program saying that Tanzania has accepted to host the next year annual partnership meetings for AFR 100. So through the Commissioner Dos Santos, thank you again. So we expect you all in Tanzania, most likely Dar es Salaam, sometime in June 2024. You are all invited. So now let me go to the next lady. It's Sherry Sugal, the co-founder and CEO of Integrity Global Partner. Please let us know how you make to attract investment in your various capacities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's very exciting for us to speak to this group about the work that we're doing, particularly to unlock really large-scale institutional capital into the space. We are a relatively new company, but with very deep experience, primarily in carbon markets. So we use that as a tool to be able to develop investable opportunities for to bring large-scale institutional capital in. If I could describe quickly the work that we do, but then really think about how that fits into the big picture of everything that we're discussing today. We are not a project developer per se. We work with folks on the ground who develop projects. But we work primarily for investors. And we realize, and the reason the company was founded, was that there actually is a lot of capital wanting to come into this space. The $1 trillion of institutional capital that is wanting to be deployed but doesn't necessarily know how to. And so a year ago at COP, I launched this company with the idea that we really needed to, in order to unlock that capital, we first really needed to restore the confidence in the supply of credits that are coming into the market. As many of you know, there's been a lot of questions around the quality and integrity of carbon credits over the course of the last year or so. And so we're really working hard on ensuring that everything we do is building on the incredible work going on in the carbon space from groups like VCMI and ICVCM and rating agencies that are bringing a lot of knowledge into, how to best design these projects. And we work in a kind of hub model, which recognizes that we as an organization cannot do everything. There's been, decades of incredible work going on, particularly on the technology side, that is improving the accuracy and transparency of carbon credits that are coming into the market. There's also a lot of incredible new work that's going on to enable us to eventually be able to have a robust market for biodiversity credits. And so we're working with a number of technology providers on that side. We have a number of other hub partners that bring tremendous sort of implementation capacity to support the projects that are ongoing. So for example, we're partners with C4 eCraft that are really experts on soil science and are doing cutting edge work on soil carbon. And so we bring together all of these partners and we work to bring pipeline to investors. We have roughly 100 projects in our pipeline right now. Most of them are land restoration efforts throughout Africa, primarily in southern and East African regions. We do have large-scale conservation projects in Central Africa. And through that pipeline, we have the ability to deploy over almost $1 billion of assets under management, or AUM. And through that, so the way that our thesis is, when we ask ourselves, why is this capital not flowing today into the market, into these projects? There is a strong disconnect between institutional capital providers and typically project developers. If I could simplify that, I would say they just don't speak the same language, right? There are great projects out there, but how do you put together a reasonable risk-adjusted return profile of your project and structure it in a way that you've mitigated all the potential risks of that project by the time you're asking for capital? So our role in this market is to act as a development company for those institutional capital providers, bring them pipeline, shape up projects so that we can demonstrate to them that those projects are relatively de-risked by the time they deploy capital into them. And we enable them to kind of optimize what's coming out of those projects, not only in terms of financial returns, but also in terms of the other SDG-aligned benefits that are coming out of projects. Because one thing we've really come to understand in this market is that it is not enough to just present a financial return. Everyone has become very acutely aware that there would be potentially huge reputational risk if they don't look to ensuring that there is ultra-high integrity across projects, across the technical design of these projects, ensuring that communities are receiving not only their fair share of benefits, but that these benefits are well understood and transparent, that ESG is central to the design of projects, and a number of other considerations in the initial design. And then we also take a role in the implementation to ensure that the performance risk is continually mitigated. So that's what we think, and that's our thesis as to how we can get more capital into the space, is to provide that link between project developers and capital providers.
Thank you very much, Cherry. One keyword, bringing back the confidence of investors. And I think through very solid monitoring and data-driven program, we can brag as a collective that FR 100 is managing it quite well. And I think Sean can come back on all the big investments that we were able to mobilize. I will finish with you. First, before giving to the WFP colleague, I want to recognize Princess Gloria Akobondu, who just joined us. She is the CEO and coordinator of the NEPAD, AUDA-NEPAD agency for Nigeria, and she will grace us with the closing remarks for this event. So welcome, Princess Gloria. Now we go to Voli Karuchi. WFP approached AUDA-NEPAD, and I think asking to focus mainly on a newly developed program on dry lands, resilience, and land restoration investment. Please, Wally.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Director, and I'm Princess from the NEPAD. Thank you for this invitation. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here today. And my distinguished panelists have already set the stage for a number of things I wanted to say, so it's going to be easy. But really to reconnect the two first interventions from the Minister and from the Director of AUDA-NEPAD is that we need to have powerful narratives built on evidence to tell much better the story that's emerging from a number of good practices, including the one that we just heard from our colleagues. And this is something that we realize also at the World Food Programme. As part of our activity, we are known for emergency response, for example, throughout, and even that we are really increasing our toolkit and ways to deliver better, faster, and more productively our assistance. But also to really look at what we do on the side of the rebuilding and restoration side, which is quite significant within our organization and growing. Growing because there is an increased realization from a number of member states, but also from a number of donors, that we cannot just continue treating a real complex problem with just a transfer of a few months every year. So we have growing numbers of food insecure people. We have growing numbers of acutely food insecure people. And those at 90% of the time live in degraded ecosystems and deforested landscapes. So the health of the ecosystem don't sustain their livelihoods. So WFP with partners, because this is a partnership first of all with government and with communities and with other stakeholders, that we need to bring the land back to restore its productive potential. And we do this in a way that it has to be participatory, it has to have a planning base, it has to be visible also from space. So we are now tracking hundreds of sites using satellite imagery and GIS, and we are tracking indicators over time for changes. So the land restoration is not anymore something that we do simply as an early recovery or a resilience program, it's something that we do as part of a system thinking approach. How we can build that evidence that then will develop, and I think should be for all of stakeholders, powerful narrative for powerful realization that things work, that high returns of investment, up $1 to $5, $1 to even $13 in the case of Ethiopian Merit Program, for example, where we can demonstrate and generate powerful financing for beginning reversing the scale and the magnitude of the problem. We have 100 million hectares, I saw in the brief, in Africa alone, degraded, moderately or severely degraded. Most of the people are food insecure, and I really like the connection between now, finally, food system, food security, ecosystem, and regenerative agriculture, resilience building is critical. So how to generate more green leadership amongst all of ourselves, more of the green jobs that need to be created as a result of scale, and more of the green minds through education, green diets or healthy diets, and green businesses and value chains. So all along thinking differently. Currently in the Sahel, we have very interesting examples emerging at scale. In 5 years, we managed to mobilize over $800 million of resources for integrated programs, holistic programs. It's now covering 3.2 million people. It has already rehabilitated 280,000 hectares directly. So you double by 2 the impact in terms of landscape restoration. Over 3,000 water points have been enabled by the sponging effect of this work. The school meals program that was complementary is largely from homegrown, locally produced foods, nutritious foods, nutrition-sensitive programs attached to it, land management and tenureship agreements, 5 to 10 years land use agreements through the Commission Foncière, land tenure commissions, and other partners, including the customary law, to provide those land tenure certificates to each and every individual or groups that have rehabilitated or restored those landscapes. And those are youth and women in particular. So we need to, the results are spectacular in places that I tell you are incredibly challenging. We have an agreement study that already has identified on a sample size of close to 50,000 hectares, 4.8 million tons of carbon sequestration. It's a core benefit for us, it's not the entry point, but it's a huge opportunity. We have a social cohesion study from IFPRI that shows an incredible return of youth, jobs, less tensions between herders and farmers. And now we are tracking indicators, and last year, of food security, last year, in spite of the worst drought that hit the Sahel, and Niger in particular, in 2021, in 2022, and now 2023, 80% of the people that were in those districts, IPC 3 and 4, didn't need any humanitarian assistance, 2 years consecutively. It's huge, for places that were degraded, pavement crust and so on. So it gives us a lot of hope. And we have a mosaic of 15 indicators tracked, satellite imagery, and 11 universities in the Sahel, with whom we partner for deployment of new talents in the areas that are needed the most. Because it's possible to reverse what many consider irreversible, from the Atlantic to the Red Sea, across that beautiful dry land belt, and then further down to the south, up to, say Dakar, Djibouti, Durban, the 3D, approach, to green everything. Because without trees, without ecosystem rehabilitation, we are not going to have food systems working. That's what my plea is about, and there are many examples, but let's work together for those mega partnerships, and we are very pleased to be part of the Great Green Wall. We have now plotting every single site in the Great Green Wall, and we want to scale up. We are beginning to have conversation with AUDA-NEPAD, with many of our partners, to have perhaps an unprecedented joint effort with FAO, IFA, the IFIs, with all the partners involved for accelerating this change. We are 6 harvests away from 2030. We are going to have 200 million additional young people in the continent by 2030. They're not a threat, they're an opportunity. So let's invest.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wally. You see this change of paradigm, WFP moving from only emergency to doing sustainable work and to get our population being more autonomous in terms of food security. Now I will go to the one I call the engine of AFR 100, one of the engine of AFR 100. In Sharm el-Sheikh, someone called us the white Mamadou and the black Sean. So, Sean, talk us about AFR 100. Just even if you wake you up at 4 a.m., you talk about AFR 100, please.
Thank you, Mamadou. Well, Madam Minister, Princess Gloria, Director Esterine, Mamadou. It's been a real privilege for us as WRI to partner in AFR 100 from the very beginning. And we love that the last 3 years or so has been really focused on implementation. And for us, implementation really starts in local communities and with local entrepreneurs. And so I'd like to focus my remarks as we think about how to get more large-scale investment into landscape restoration on 3 aspects of this local phenomenon. One is capacity, the next is capital, and the last is having a strong investment thesis. On capacity, we're thrilled to partner with AUDA-NEPAD and with a private sector partner called Realize Impact on a land accelerator program, because we recognize that entrepreneurs need some support. They need support with some of the technical aspects of doing restoration. They need support in growing an amazing business, and they need support in telling their story to investors. So we've had more than 2,000 entrepreneurs apply since 2018 for this program. We've worked with more than 350 entrepreneurs. I'm happy to say more than 50% of those are women and youth, to provide that kind of training to allow them to access more investment. And those 350 businesses, interestingly, are working in 91 different commodities. So it's quite a diverse range of types of business that we're engaged with. But one of the things that we noticed was that a lot of these Land Accelerator graduates were still struggling to receive the capital that they needed from impact investors and others. So we did start a fund, again in partnership with several different partners, called Terra Fund, to provide capital to those growing businesses and to some of the nonprofits working in local communities. We've raised $150 million from philanthropy to support this endeavor. We did our first call for proposals. We got more than 3,200 applications in the first round of proposals. So Africa's ready. There's a lot happening. And so far, we've been able to fund about 200 of those nonprofits and businesses, which is a good start, but it's still less than 10% of the folks that have applied. So there's still so much more to do. And for us, one of the frustrating things is that we know that philanthropy is super important, but it's catalytic. And so we have to try to blend in more private capital with the philanthropy that we have and de-risk that private capital. Because if we're going to achieve 100 million hectares, philanthropy can't put a dent in that. It has to be from the private sector, from the public sector, and more scalable sources of finance. So that's a big part of our effort right now is taking that philanthropy and finding out how to blend it with additional private capital. But the other point I wanted to raise is just having a strong investment thesis, because when we look at the businesses that we're supporting, a lot of them are working in coffee and cocoa and avocados and cashew and gum arabic, lots of different commodities. Now, you can grow those commodities in a very restorative way, in a regenerative way. You could also grow those commodities in a very extractive way that is not actually full of restoration. And so do we have enough of a strong investment thesis around each of these commodities to know the difference, like when something is being regenerative, when it is benefiting the community, when it is benefiting biodiversity, and when it's not? So that's another effort we're making with our partners, with our partners Regeneration and many others, to strengthen that investment thesis around these core commodities that folks are growing. So thank you, Mahmoud.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have heard Princess Gloria. We need that money. Yes, we need that money. I heard you. So, colleagues, if we want to one intervention, one question, just to say that we involve the audience, you see, or pretending. One question. before we go, you will do your... Yes, please.
Or comment. Thank you so much for the panelists. And this is a very interesting session for Africa, land and forestry for food security. I just want to present the situation of Sudan in a few minutes. Our country is massively affected by climate change. And this ongoing conflict now, the historical background of the conflict is the competition over the limited resources due to climate change. The impact of climate change in Sudan is in a form of desertification, desert creeping. Even now, the most productive areas in the past, now they are completely deteriorated by the impact of climate change, and even the water sources. Now there is a shortage of water for agriculture, for livestock, and as my colleague said, finance is the one factor that will solve all these problems. By the way, now 15% for 15 million of the population from IBC results are in phase 3 and more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudan. Let me take one last. We hope this conflict stop right away, like everywhere in Africa, so we can work peacefully among us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Henry Bassi. I am lead consultant to WRI in Nigeria, driving strategic youth engagement. And of course, there's a bias for women. Now, I listened to everyone, and it's been a brilliant conversation. But I was just going to say, and it's kind of like a question to you, around the integrity and the issues that have to do with capturing carbon properly. And because the transparency is what then gives the investors confidence to do what they need to do. So just to end it by saying that even just listening to WFF and everyone on the panel apart from WRI, no one is in Nigeria. And I think that just from my knowledge, there's 50%, for example, of all the trees in Nigeria sitting in one state. And there's a huge opportunity around biodiversity and all of that. So I think there's a huge opportunity. And like my honorable minister said, the need for finance is critical. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Henry. Isabella, don't put me in dilemma. next time, Gelele in French, please, last one. Before they kick us out.
Merci beaucoup, félicitations panélistes. Je suis Arsène Gelele. Je viens du Congo-Brazzaville. Je suis membre du comité consultatif de AUDA-NEPAD au Congo-Brazzaville. Alors, je vais poser deux questions. Hier, nous avons lancé la décennie mondiale de la forestation et reforestation dans cette salle, qui devait une initiative mondiale pour résoudre le problème de tout ce qui est des changements climatiques et autres. Je sais que j'enlève mon chapeau pour mon ami Mamadou qui fait un grand travail. Je voulais savoir combien de pays en Afrique sont membres, ont adhéré à Affaires 100.
Adhered to Affair 100,
que tous les pays africains
and we ask that all African countries may have the possibility to have ambassadors of the afforestation decade, because you know that we have the hugest green project in Africa, that is the Great Green Wall, that is touching also Central Africa. And also to finish, yesterday we launched the initiative of the volunteers of afforestation in this room, that is an initiative, and we aggregated VAR awards. We have to encourage all the people in this initiative. Why the volunteers? In these volunteers we have the man, the woman, the children and the elephant, that is the one bringing the best afforestation. So we have to protect men, women and children.
First question he asked, how many countries are members of AFA 100? I think he's looking for applause for his countries because they joined 2 weeks ago. So big applause for Republic of Congo, which is the 35th country to join AFA 100. Merci beaucoup. And also this link nature and human being, that elephant is the biggest land restore champion actually in the biodiversity. Colleagues, je vous en prie, désolé de ne pas pouvoir prendre plus de questions. No more questions. Henry, AFA 100 is very present in Nigeria. Talk to Princess Gloria, to Minister Jamila, and to Benjamin. You will see what we are doing, even during COVID. So please, end of the closing remarks from Princess Gloria.
remark. We'll miss it. Because Bezos is here to give me money. I'm not leaving today without money. Hello, very respected guests. It's been a long day, I know, and a very long event that started and is wrapping up today. Lots of meetings here and there. So forgive me for being here a bit late. I know NEPAD is my base, so I have to go catch up elsewhere before rounding up here. So thank you for a wonderful day. A lot has been said. A lot as well has been heard. Which way forward? Where do we go from here? How do we start inventing what we have said, doing the work, or doing the talking? Action, 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 action. That's where we are now. So if we keep narrating processes and policies and strategies without implementation, we are not convincing anyone on this project. So for us in Nigeria, we've done a lot. The Minister of Youth here migrated from NEPAD as well. So you can see, today we have to create Ministry of Youth for easy implementation of all these projects: tree planting, restoration, afforestation. So all land use matters has been, policies and right laws has been given in Nigeria. And where we are now is action. So when we see development partners that are ready to work with us, hear this out. Around 88% of farmers in Nigeria, about 40 million farmers, operate on the subsistence level, and most of them are in rural areas. Where are we trying to catch up with? Is it not the rural areas? Where the trees will be planted, where the land will be restored, where the trees need to be protected, heavy awareness at the rural areas so that the trees are not cut to protect our universe. Investments at scale in agriculture in Nigeria would therefore encounter the inherent challenge of coalescing these multiple disjointed and small farming operations. With our innovative strengthening of smallholder farmers and productive land restoration projects, we are working with state governments in the country to register smallholder farmers and offer them the resource support for strengthening their operations, as well as help them transit to climate-smart agriculture. We have partnered with 22 states, so far out of Nigeria's 36, and including our FCT Abuja, and have onboarded over 45,000 small farmers, which were formed in clusters, and we have received partnership seed fund from each of these state governors up to $1 million. So what are we waiting for? Nigeria is very, very ripe to start. A central component of the project is guiding smallholder farmers to restoration and afforestation-based farming to replace the common methods such as shifting cultivation, which depletes the soil and increase the risk of flooding and erosion. We have taken learnings from the Community Biodiversity Action Plan, which is a partnership between the federal government of Nigeria and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Global Environment Facility, as a direct strategy to mitigate deforestation and support of reforestation and afforestation in rural communities of the biodiversity Niger Delta area of Nigeria. These projects demonstrated that local communities in Nigeria can be successfully persuaded to take ownership of tree planting endeavors within their habitats. And we have transferred the models of engagement engagement here to farmers in their livelihoods for the same goals. Our project is further premised on the knowledge that using tree covers in farmlands is proving to increase crop yield. I think we know that. For instance, benefits associated with increased trees. Cover have boosted sorghum yields in Niger by 20 to 85%. That is sources made. And millet yield by 15 to 50% in rejuvenated areas. Also in agriculture systems where cocoa is growing in full sun, the trees require heavy chemical inputs and need to be replaced after 10 to 20 years compared to 40 to 60 years in agroforestry system. Therefore, investment in agroforestry in Nigeria, which we are championing at AUDA-NEPAD, will also help build livelihood and support sustainable development in the country while generating higher profit, given the improved crop yields from the farming method. So what we are trying to say here is that we have formed these people in clusters, we have seed fund to get started, we're just looking for counterpart funding. We are looking for support to help the various states mobilize these 45,000 farmers across the country, 36 including FCT, over 774 local governments of Nigeria. And getting that mass farmers made up of youths, women, and also we've agreed with the royalties, that's the traditional council, for ownership, security, and protection of those trees. So this project started over 2-3 years ago with African Union Development Agency, African Union Secretariat, and we've done our business plan, we've done the sensitization, we've gone to stages, and now we are at the edge of getting started. Let us start. Action. That is where we are now. So we want to welcome you once again, and to thank you for finding time to be here, and to please invite you. We're going to have a roundtable meeting in Nigeria in late January or early February. You will get our invitation. And this is because the present administration is 100% involved and has given his commitment to ensure that we succeed in land restoration as well as food systems. Because if we don't restore our land, we should be ready to go hunger, to starve them more. But the local government, the communities, they've given up their lands. MOUs has been signed, seed funds has been deposited. So what are we waiting for? We need the development partners to give us the right matching funds to enable us implement this project. And the next COP, maybe COP29 now, we should be telling our stories. We'll be sharing our experience, which should be at the peer learning. What has this country done that can benefit another country? That is the stage we should go. Not coming back to repeat strategy, policies that we've overgrown. This is COP28. We are coming to COP29. What are we bringing to the table again? The same theory. Please, I call for action. And the time is now. Let us move. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Princess Gloria. So you see all the passion that is here. Let's now... You want to close 1 minute? Yeah. Close 1 minute, please.
Oh, well, thank you, everyone. With that, I'm not sure why Mamadou is actually asking me to close, because with that passionate call for action from Princess Gloria, I'm not sure there's anything much to add. But since I have the mic, let me really thank all the panelists for a wonderful conversation that just emphasized the importance of this subject matter, the importance of restoring our land to achieve food security, for emphasizing the importance of partnerships, the importance of having the frameworks that will enable investors to have the confidence to come and invest, to bring the money that my sister is calling for. We need to have those frameworks that enable that to happen. I think these are some of the critical messages, but I think the most critical one was the actual action on the ground, showing the millions of hectares that have been restored and how it's contributing to livelihoods, for jobs for young people and women, for driving our economic activities, and for ensuring that we have the technologies and the system that enable us to capture and demonstrate these real things that are happening on the ground. Want to thank all the participants for being here. We look forward to continue to working with all of you. It's one message is clear, is that partnership is what is going to drive that action on the ground for our communities, for our government, and for the continent as a whole. So thank you for being here, and I think there is lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. The meeting is adjourned. We can have our bilaterals. We will talk another day, please. Thank you.